What's up, guys? TD here, coming at you to show you Immerseus in Siege of Orgrimmar. Now, this is an LFR kill, so be forewarned that there's a lot of stuff in this video that you should not do, including stuff that I do, because I screwed up a bunch too. But it's going to give you a basic idea of what you can expect from the fight and what you need to look out for. First of all, you'll probably notice that he doesn't have that much health. He only has about 128 million, but there's a reason for that, because when you get him down to 0, he splits. I don't know if you remember Icaron, I think his name is, in Violet Hold, did something similar. He split into all the little globules or whatever, and you had to kill them before they merged back. It's the same thing here, except for when he splits into two different types, one dark and one regular. The dark ones need to be killed before they get to him, whereas the regular ones need to be healed before they get to him. And another thing, when they do reach him, if they reach him, they cause damage to the entire raid. It's not a lot, but if a lot get back to him, or get back to him without being healed, it causes quite a bit of damage and can almost, and sometimes will, kill people. So it's very important that the raid is spread out around the entirety of the room, so that there's people everywhere to take care of them as they get spawned. And it's very easy to see where they're going to end up at, because when he splits, he actually, as you can see right now, shoots them up into the air and they slowly glide out towards the edges of the room. So you have about 5 seconds to prepare for where they're going to land and get on top of them. Now, besides this, you do have to watch out for the shot puddles on the ground. You'll see throughout the fight I step in them and trying to get out of them, but they cause a good bit of damage if you don't get out of them. They will appear directly under you and usually hit you at least once. That's not a big deal, but you just need to get out of them as soon as possible. And he also does an ability called Swirl. Now, this can kill you very easily if he starts it on top of you and you don't get out of the way, because it's just like some other boss fights that you may have fought back in Burning Crusade and on the Timeless Isle, where it does a circle around the entire room. You can see he's doing it right now, and it hits you and knocks you back every time it hits you. But if you're standing in it when he first does it, it will hit you like 4 times in succession and can kill you very easily. Otherwise, in LFR, it's not that big of a deal. You can usually dash really quick in the opposite direction that it's coming and just run through it. It'll hit you once and you'll be fine, especially if you have some kind of speed boost. I have my shield, which gives me that short burst of speed, and I use that to run through and absorb most of the damage that it does. Besides that, there's not really a whole lot to this fight, especially on LFR. The main thing, like I said, is people being spread out. We had a big problem with there being a large portion of the raid on one side. You can see on my mini-map right now that there's a large cluster of players on one side, and the other side, it's not as bad as it was, but it's still pretty sparing. And if you don't spread out, then you're gonna have a hard time with them. So just make sure before you do your pull, you look at the map, you look at where people are staying, and say, hey, you know, we need a couple more people over here, we need a couple more people down to the south end of the room, or whatever, so that you can be spread out and you don't have people trying to run and catch these guys, because they're not real fast, but they're fast enough that you only really have a few seconds to get them either killed or healed before they reform. So all in all, that's pretty much the entirety of the fight. It's not hard. Like I said, I haven't done this on Flex or regular or anything yet, but on LFR it's really straightforward, as it should be for the first boss. And if you have a good group, even if they haven't done it before, if you just go through and give a real quick synopsis of the fight and say, hey, this is what we're going to be running into, you know, this is what to watch out for, you should be able to get it on your first try. But then again, the nice thing about this raid in LFR is you do have the determination buff. Every time you wipe, you get, I think it's 5% health, damage, and healing, I believe. So unfortunately in this raid, on the second or third boss, we ended up with like 4 stacks of determination because we had such a hard time with it. But it is a help, and it helps groups that are either under-geared or just not very good to basically power through it, where, you know, more force, less brains type thing. So eventually, if you keep trying long enough, bashing your head against that wall, you're gonna get it. I know most people don't want to do that though. You want to get it down the first time and get through it. So that's basically the whole fight. And as you've been watching, excuse me, it's the same thing over and over and over again. So as long as people are staying on top of their sections, staying out of the swirl, staying out of the puddles, you'll be good. He does need to be tanked by 2 tanks, which should be obvious. He does some kind of a debuff to the tank. I'm not sure because I have never tanked or healed this fight, but apparently he does some kind of debuff to the tanks where he can one-shot the tank if the tanks don't swap. So that's another thing to watch out for. If you're going to be tanking this boss, make sure you get with the other tank and you know who's going to be going first, and that they're aware of that debuff so that you don't get killed. But all in all, that's pretty much it. This fight ended up taking longer than it should have. I'm not really saying anything because I'm playing my priest. I'm going as Shadow just because I'm trying to gear up so that I can heal, because we're looking to do some flex rating soon, and I want to get my gear level up a little bit higher. I'm at around 511 right now, and I want to get a little bit higher before we get into flex, so that, you know, it's better to be over geared than under geared. So I'm doing the Shadow thing right now. I'm not very good at it. My stats really aren't done the way they should be because of the fact that I'm running with my loot specialization set to holy so that I can build that healer setup. So I'm having to pick up the Shadow pieces where I can and reforge some things where I can to make it work, but it is making my DPS suffer quite a bit. And plus, I'm just not really good at or big into playing Shadow. So if you play a class or a spec that you don't like, you're never going to be that good at it. Of course, there's some people that probably will be regardless, but not me. If I don't have my head in it, then I'm, you know, not that great at it. But in LFR, it's really never that big of a deal. As long as you have a semi-competent group, you can always get through it, especially with that determination buff. So you can afford to have fair share mistakes. See, all those guys got back and it just almost killed me right there. And part of that is because you can see there's a lot of people dead. I don't know if that was from them standing in the swirl or the puddles or what, but we ended up having a lot of people dead. And you can see we're only like a minute and 44 seconds away from him berserking, which you really shouldn't ever have to worry about a berserk on this fight, so that's pretty bad. And here we go, another split. You can see it's a lot of the ones that need to be healed. I don't think we had our healers spread out well enough that most of them weren't getting healed. I try to heal them, like right here I'm trying to throw some heals on one just to help out, but you know, if you play someone who can heal on an off spec, you're gonna run out of mana like right away. So that's pretty much it. You can see we did it. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe. I'm gonna be posting some more Siege videos and some other videos, and I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.